Hi, I'm John Burke.
And I'm Alex Huffard.
And we are Burke Company.
And this is the Monday Market Minute. And this week, guys, we're going to tackle what we kind of touched on last week, one of those, pieces we want to touch on in the next couple of weeks, which was the relationship between real estate agents and Zillow. So a lot of times, there's a straightforward answer to a lot of questions. You go to the Mako's next door and, they sell food. But I guess as a company, the real question is, what does Zillow actually sell?
Yeah, what is the product is the big question nowadays with a lot of internet companies. And in short, the answer is a lot of times the product is you. How we get there though is you might think the product is the houses on Zillow. That is sort of what they're trying to sell, but that's not the case at all. That's not where the revenue comes from. That's not the business that Zillow's in. That's not the market that they're trying to appeal to. So the content is not the product.
All right, so we'll kind of deconstruct and then construct the picture. Zillow gets its information from the realtors.
Yeah, going back to when in the 80s, realtors began to work for both buyers and sellers. Before that, they only worked for sellers. You started to see the development of something called multiple listing services, which were associations of realtors that shared their listings together so that anybody working with the buyer could go and look at any listings for any of the other brokerages that participated. And as you got into the 90s, they used to walk around and hand these out once a week on paper. They used to get little books with all the papers, and you'd see what were the new listings and what were still around and what had sold. In the 90s, the realtors began to realize the internet was going to be a big deal, and they began to bring companies in, and they built local listing systems in which realtors would enter the data, and they could search the data, and they could send that data to people that they were working with. Zillow takes all of those multiple listing services, and that is where they probably get 99% of their content. I mean, that's where it comes from. That's where they get the listings, they compile them together, and they have the content on their site, which they've used to put together in a really nice, pretty way that people seem to like clicking through, and to draw a lot of traffic, to draw consumers, to draw potential buyers and sellers of real estate property. And that becomes the product in a way.
So, just to give you guys an idea, John and I were members of 3 different MLSs. One is the Cape May County. The other is what's referred to as South Jersey Regional, which is kind of Atlantic County, a few touches outside of there, and Trend, which covers more west and more north of the rest of New Jersey. So we pay to be a part of these memberships, and then Zillow essentially pulls that information from the MLSs and then posts that publicly for you guys. So you get to see the information we get when we're doing listings and doing our jobs, aside from any tax information they have. So, I mean, you touched on an interesting point there, they're selling them. So, I think we should touch on, when you're on Zillow and you're clicking through, you see that box with real estate agents in it, and the top one naturally is the listing agent. But the other 3, how do they end up there?
Yeah, and I'm not sure the top one always is the listing agent, actually, but you'll often notice there are 4 realtors listed at the bottom of a listing where you can ask for more information on this property. And you click one of those, and then you click send. The top one tends to be clicked or filled in or highlighted already, so that's a very good position to be in. They call those impressions, is what Zillow refers to them as. And Zillow approaches agents with the opportunity to basically buy what might amount to advertising or what they call impressions on these listings. So they might come to you, and this is this typical sort of number we see in the markets that we work in one of the good markets, like a shore market out here. They might offer you 75% of the impressions for around $2,000, $2,500 a month, in that ballpark. So for $2,500 a month, they're telling you that you're going to show up 75% of the time in a listing on that zip code as one of those 4 realtors at the bottom of the page. And Zillow, it keeps sort of top secret the way in which they count their impressions, the way they distribute their impressions, and even the way they sell them, because they'll tell me that they're selling me 75%, then they'll open up more impressions 3 weeks later. I no longer have 75%. They never tell me that. And they go and sell to a new realtor 75% of the impressions in this market. So as the number of impressions change, they're selling to you at that fixed number. But as it grows, they then sell as a percentage to new people, which compels people who've already bought in to keep buying in every time things become And that is Zillow's revenue stream. They get a little bit of other money from mortgage representatives that advertise there, title companies that might advertise there. But the main revenue stream for Zillow today is selling impressions to realtors.
So the kind of, in short, they don't get paid on any real estate transaction or directly paid for anything that goes on there other than the advertising space that's used by real estate personnel.
It's really frustrating to realtors right now, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes inside the industry too. There's some threatened developments from some of the bigger real estate companies like Long & Foster, Berkshire Hathaway, Remax, about working together in order to build a Zillow-like site, and Realtor.com almost became that. There's been a lot of backstories here because realtors are frustrated. Basically, Zillow is using all the information that we put together collectively and that we organized over the course of 30 years to be able to compile together. They're putting it in one place with a really nice display and format that is user-friendly, in fairness to them, and users seem to like it. And then they're turning around and charging us to show up in front of the information that we put together. We do the marketing, we make the houses look great, we try to sell the houses, we put together the displays on the houses. They put them up there for free, but then in order to do business off of all that work, they want you to pay them to show up in front of the consumer. So agents are frustrated with Zillow. A lot of agents love Zillow too because they spend money and they get leads off of it, but there are a lot of agents too that are frustrated because it doesn't seem fair. And it seems as if we screwed ourselves at a certain point by allowing them to take information that we compile, put together, and own, and then display it, and then charging us to advertise on the information that we put together. So that's the state of things today. There's a lot of reasons that realtors would push to do it another way. And I can say too, I think for owners, it is a bit upsetting that Zillow controls so much of this because the way you market and sell your property, they put a Zestimate on it that you might not be interested in. Just the way they display things might not be how you want your property presented to people or, the medium that you want them to be seeing it on. So it takes a lot of the marketing power away from people trying to sell their homes. And for buyers, I've used it. I tried to recreate the buyer experience, and I don't feel as if it is organized as well because they want to give special treatment to certain listings from certain agents that are paying them for special treatment, which I think is misleading to the buyers who think that everything is represented sort of evenly and fairly. So there's definitely, I understand the draw of Zillow, and it's been good for the consumer in some ways, but there's also ways I think it hurts the consumer and isn't good for people who are trying to sell properties in particular. And even for buyers too, for a few other reasons that are a little bit harder to explain. So I think that gives you a good idea of the relationship between the real estate industry and Zillow right now. It can be different from agent to agent, office to office, and region to region, but some of the general ideas that sort of define how we think of things, at least how I think of things, and what's going on today, I think we are at a point, a lot of flux. It might be a very different scene 12 months or 18 months or 24 months from now.
So just, the kind of, in short, the agents that you guys see, and this is where it really applies to you guys, the consumer of Zillow on the other end. If you guys haven't, decided on a real estate agent or you're not working with a real estate agent yet, and you go to that section, that box of real estate agents, you're not necessarily going to get a top real estate agent. You're not necessarily going to get a well-reviewed real estate agent. You're getting someone that has paid for that space just like any other piece of advertising out there. So we encourage you to still do your homework on your realtor, and of course if you're in South Jersey, Burke Company should be your answer for that either way.
Well, and do your homework, talk to somebody. Talk to people. Like, I'm always comfortable. I feel as if, and this goes to the basic philosophy at the bottom of how we like to do business is we believe in listening to people. Mm-hmm. We believe in understanding what their goals are, then using our experience and our work ethic to help them reach those goals. So I always feel as if we get a chance to talk to people, people will realize what we're offering here. And we have a high capture rate or success rate, or let's put it more, we form good relationships because of that. So we appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about doing business with you, about being your realtor.
So we'll continue the Zillow Trulia Realtor.com series next week with the topic we're not going to announce yet. But thank you guys for watching. I'm Alex Huffard.
I'm John Burke. We are Burke Company.
See you next week.